All right, we have a full council tonight, no absences. Waiting for Hicks.
I said it twice.
Okay.
Because I read it off of my list.
Randy, we're ready.
Okay. Is it Emmanuel and Chris?
It sounds like the microphones are working now. Thank you. Okay, Councilman Hicks, could you please lead us in the invocation today?
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for today. Thank you for the much-needed rain. We ask for more if you can bring it. Just pray to watch over our first responders as they take care of the items that are out there in the world. Watch over our first responders and our military personnel, and watch over their families. And just let us make decisions tonight that are pleasing to you. In these things we pray. Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next up is citizens to be heard. This is the only time during the council meeting that a citizen can address the city council. It is the opportunity for visitors and guests to address the city council on any issue, to include agenda items. All visitors wishing to speak must fill out the sign-in roster prior to the start of the meeting. The city council may not deliberate any non-agenda issue, nor may any action be taken on any non-agenda issue at this time. However, the city council may present any factual response to items brought up by citizens. Attorney General Opinion, JC 0169, limit of 3 minutes each. All remarks shall be addressed to the council as a body. Remarks may also be addressed to any individual member of the council, so long as the remarks are about matters of local public concern and not disruptive to the meeting or threatening to the member or any attendee. Any person violating this policy may be requested to leave the meeting, but no person may be requested to leave or forced to leave the meeting because of the viewpoint expressed. This meeting is live streamed. If anyone would like to make comments on any matter regarding the city of Cibolo or on an agenda item and have the item read at this meeting, please email psimix@cibolotx.gov and vchapman@cibolotx.gov or call 210-566-6111 before 5 p.m. the date of the meeting. We have anybody signed up? Okay, thank you. Next up is public hearing. A, conduct a public hearing regarding the Cibolo Drought Contingency Plan. Mr. Foose.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is an opportunity for the public to weigh in on our 2024 drought contingency plan for the city of Cibolo. As described at our last meeting, the drought contingency plan now aligns completely with Canyon Regional Water Authority as well, the GBRA drought contingency plans.
Thank you, Tim. Time is now 6:34 p.m. A little behind. I'm going to go ahead and open up the public hearing. If anybody in the audience tonight has any comments or concerns about the Cibolo Drought Contingency Plan, please come up to the microphone. Hearing none, we will close the public hearing at 6:34 p.m. Thank you very much, Mr. Foose.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council.
All right, next up is 7, consent agenda. All items listed below are considered to be routine and non-controversial by the City Council and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless a council member requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda. Item A, approval of the minutes of the regular City Council meeting held on June 25th, 2024. B, approval of the minutes of the mini-budget meeting held on June 25th, 2024. C, approval of the March 2024 check register pending final acceptance of the city's financial audit for the 23-24 fiscal. And D, approval of the March 24 revenue and expense report pending final acceptance of the city's financial audit for 23-24 fiscal. And finally, E, approval of the quarterly investment report ending March 24th, March 2024, pending final acceptance of the city's financial audit for the 23-24 fiscal. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to approve consent agenda as Mayor read them.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. Please vote on your screens. Motion carries 7-0. Moving on to 8, staff update, administrations. A, Cibolo summer night, July 12th. B, request for proposals, RFPs, request for bids, RFB, request for qualifications, RFQ. C, capital improvement program, updates on projects. And D, council budget workshops, July 16th at 5 p.m. Mr. Reed.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, Mayor and Council. Today is my first day back from vacation, so it was just managing the big stuff for today and getting prepared for tonight. Quickly, I will email this to you. As you'll recall, at the last City Council meeting, I informed you that the July 12th Cibolo Summer Night event is themed Olympic Games, and we are partnering with the YMCA for this third Cibolo Summer Night of the summer of 2024. And then request for proposals, request for bids, and request for qualifications. Last time I updated you that the engineering design services for wastewater projects for our new CCN area were received on June 27th. Staff is currently reviewing the 5 proposals and will make their recommendations to finance procurement by July 23rd. Again, this will be coming to you for an award of contract. Also, the fiscal impact model, we received 1 proposal on Friday, June 28th, so I need to catch up with Ms. Kelsey Jordan-Lee about that proposal, and I will give you a more in-depth presentation or update, excuse me, once I find out the qualifications of that 1 proposal and what our next steps will be. Capital Improvement Program, I have updates here just to save time that I will email you. 1 is about Town Creek drainage, the ongoing work there. Lower Seguin Road, the progress made on that phase 1 and working forward on that project. Green Valley Road, the low water crossing improvement. The progress that we're making is that on July 23rd, you'll have an item concerning this low water crossing for an award of contract. Deer Creek Drainage, the design is still ongoing. Tolly Road, the staff and consultants are still working on utility coordination and the selection of a land appraiser. The Town Creek Trail parking lot, the project will be rescoped and re-advertised. Bids are more than 70% over the anticipated budget. So again, my first day back, I will give you more in-depth update as I discuss with staff the outcome of that right there. And then FY25 road reconstruction projects and the work staff is doing on that, and then the FY25 street preservation projects. Staff is currently identifying a preliminary list for those projects. An update on TxDOT FM 1103, ongoing utility coordination meetings with the firms working for TxDOT, including HDR and Westwood Engineering, and I will email this to you after I'm done. And the council budget workshop is July 16th, 5 to 9. More to come on that.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. I now recognize Councilman Hicks.
Mr. Reed, I have received a couple of phone calls over the last week or so. One happened today. Gentleman called asking about the completion of phase 1. He had mentioned that he's called the city several times, been put on hold, and nobody returns his call. What he's wanting to find out is the completion date for phase 1, because school will start in mid-August, and he's wanting to make sure that that's how he has to travel to take his kids to Corbett. So he wants to make sure that that is open instead of, otherwise he needs to figure out how he's going to go and what time he's going to have to leave to go 78 or 10 to get his child to school.
And your phase 1 for, is it Lower Seguin Road?
Lower Seguin Road.
Yes, sir. Okay.
but I found it disturbing that, you know, he'd called 3 or 4 times, placed on hold, or nobody would respond to his calls when he'd leave a message.
If you'd like, I can work with you offline and get his name and his phone number, and we will call him back tomorrow and get him that information.
Well, if you could give me the information, I'll get it to him.
Okay.
But I just want to make it clear that this is happening.
Yes, sir. I
Thank you.
can't speak for,
Understand?
For
I'm
that,
just
but
making
we
it
will-
clear. Yes.
we
Thank
will
you.
get him that information. Was there anything else, sir?
That's it.
All righty, thank you.
Mr. Reed, I do have a comment about 8C, which is the capital improvement updates on projects. I did receive a call, or not a call, but a notification from a citizen today about an issue at Green Valley Road in 1103, which I do believe has to do with the 1103 expansion project, as far as a large looped cable, I believe, that looks to be interfering with the traffic light. So if that's something that city staff could take a look at, or if it's outside of our purview, then we could contact TxDOT. That'd be great.
And Mayor, would you allow me to let Tim Foose speak? I believe he has
Yes.
some knowledge about
Okay.
that.
That'd be fantastic. Mr. Foose, do you know anything about that?
Yes, sir. That's happened once before. There was it's a large wind of fiber optic cable that's hanging up there, and what happens is the strap holding it fails and it starts to droop back down. We'll contact Hunter Industries as well as TxDOT to ensure that gets reset.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Mr. Foose. Anybody else from council have any questions about staff update? Hearing none, we're going to move on to 9A has been removed. I made the announcement prior to the start of the council meeting. It will be moved to the special meeting that we're going to be having next Tuesday to give our city attorney a little more time to finalize the agreement, and then also give our city council members time to read the agreement in its entirety. I don't want anybody voting on an agreement that they haven't read. Moving on to 9B, discussion action on the approval of the Historic Committee Historic Site Pamphlet. Shane Merritt. Welcome, Shane. How you doing, sir?
Great, Mr. Mayor. How are you?
Outstanding.
Council, Mr. Mayor, it's been my pleasure to serve as not only committee member, but now the chair of the Historical Committee. We're trying to revamp how we're doing business, so we're currently in the process of re-identifying our goals and objectives and for later submission of your approval. However, the pamphlet has been something that has been worked on for about the last, many years. And I really believe that it's something that we should get out there and allow it to be distributed as official city information. And the reason why is for twofold. One, to get people downtown, to get people to know and understand that, number one, downtown is a historical place. It's a place where you can go in something and not see the same thing, where it's not a normal large organization or big box store. These are all mom and pop and houses that have been turned into very successful and very lucrative businesses. That being said, there are a few that are missing. For instance, 1911 Cigars and Mamma Mia's Jamaican and a couple other buildings. But however, the interest in getting it pushed to get it put out is so that way we can start that tourism now and start bringing revenue back in. That being said, we at the will of the council, we will happily make routine updates and get those out as soon as possible, obviously with your approval. Any questions or concerns about the pamphlet? It should be in your packet.
Well, I'm gonna turn the floor over to Councilman Hicks, but before I do, I just wanted to thank you, Shane, and the rest of the Historical Committee for all of the hard work that went into this pamphlet brochure announcement, if you will, for all of the businesses in historic downtown Cibolo. I think this is a fantastic endeavor, and I wanted to thank you for all the hard work that went into this. And I do think that this will be a valuable tool for new citizens when they're moving into the city of Cibolo and they get that sheet that tells them, GVC is your electric company and you've got Time Warner or I guess it's Spectrum now or whatever, but to give them this pamphlet as well and allow them to understand that we do have a fantastic historic downtown Cibolo. Because I think somebody mentioned here tonight when they were applying for the history committee that a lot of times people that just moved to Cibolo don't even know we have a downtown. They just see it all as, track homes or whatnot, and they just hop on 35 and go to work or go to San Antonio or go to Austin and don't realize of what we have to offer right here in the city of Cibolo. So thank you very much, Shane.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Hicks.
Councilman.
How you doing, Shane?
Great, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. So I like this pamphlet. It's great.
Absolutely.
One thing that I would like to see is to make sure that we get it to the chamber, because you go to the chamber, and it's like any chamber or commerce, they have the little pamphlet that folds up, trifold, and they just, right, it's a trifold, right, that's a trifold.
Like
And we-
Tri-County?
It will be a trifold.
Okay.
Yeah, according to what I'm seeing there, it'd be a trifold, but make sure that we get some to some of the different, like where they have for Six Flags, for SeaWorld and stuff. They've got all them pamphlets. You go to different places and they'll have the pamphlets there. I think this would be great for in that purpose as well.
Yes, sir. That actually is the plan, to take and distribute those to local areas where a lot of those pamphlets are stored.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, like if eventually when we get a hotel here, that'd be a good thing to put in the lobby,
Absolutely.
So-
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anything else? No, we're good. Katie, go ahead.
So I do notice that there are some businesses that are not on the list, as you mentioned.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to caution your committee to maybe come up with a standard as to what qualifies a business to be listed on the map. If you're going to include old businesses, then set a date. Buildings that are before this date and have it written out, because you're going to have new builds or whatever that come in that are like, well, we want to be included in that too. Why can't we? You have this. It's favoritism. So having like a set policy or procedure on how you're selecting which businesses go on here would be a good preventative measure for future issues. I also know that there are some businesses off of File Road. There's Just Kids Academy. There's a tattoo shop. I think there's something else off of File Road that just went in. I can't remember what it's called. Oh, okay. Then never mind. Maybe not that business. But to go up some of these roads too, like File Road, and not forget the ones that are up there off of South Main. There'll be a business down off of South Main, which is still part of Old Town. If that's what your map is trying to encompass, is all of Old Town, trying to see where those businesses are. But again, having a standard that if your business fits these parameters, then it will make it onto the map. Old Spanish Trail, I know, goes through downtown somewhere. I'm sure
Yes, ma'am.
Judy
We do
could tell
we do
you.
plan on putting that on there
Okay.
as well.
Yeah, so maybe designating that on the map, making it stand out in a different color, or having something about it.
We just talked about that last meeting. Yes,
Perfect.
ma'am.
Okay, so you're ahead of me. And then just as a side note, I talked with Miss Judy at the last cemetery walk about possibly doing like a map of the cemetery and the people who are there. I know there's Find a Grave and they have the maps of the cemeteries, but we don't really have one here. And it'd be really interesting to see where all these street names, where they're buried. So coming up with something like that in a future endeavor for the historic committee would be
Yes,
interesting.
ma'am. That's
for me.
actually next on our list.
Awesome.
I spoke with Ms. Womack, and yeah, we've
Amazing.
already got that lined out, but that's going to be a little bit further down. We wanted to get as much as we could out as quick as possible in order to get this thing started. And then once it's started, it's easier to maintain and to
Perfect.
add and subtract and things of that nature.
My
And as of right now, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
And as of right now, all the businesses listed, we believe, date back past 1970.
Okay.
So we believe, and it may not be true, but as of right now, that's where we've kind of put the cutting block. But that's going to readjust as we figure out when these buildings were actually originally constructed, not necessarily reconstructed.
Yeah.
So that's been the biggest hampering thus
Well, with
far.
it being historic.
Right, as far as
historic, I
being,
mean,
rather than
It
being,
needs to be some type of historic.
So I mean, like, Just Kids Academy, that house was built in 1950 something, 1952, I think. So it's not super, super old. I don't know that I would consider it a historic home, but it's just as old as some of these other businesses and buildings that are on the map. Maybe not all of them, but some of them. So just setting something for that. I think for right now,
Absolutely.
this is great.
I
But
agree.
just moving forward, as y'all keep improving on it.
updating and.
Yeah. My last
ma'am.
comment would be on the back. It's a lot of words, and I like a lot of words, but it'd be nice if it had a picture too. I don't know if you can fit one. Yeah,
no,
or a picture in the blue, something.
I don't disagree with you, ma'am. Essentially, the pamphlet has been made so that way it can be uniformly distributed with all of the city items, so it's made to look like all of the city pamphlets.
Got it. That makes sense. That's it.
All right. So on this one, it looks like we have action as far as a motion. And so, okay, to approve the pamphlet. So I assume that this is, version 1.0, and then, as time goes by and improvements are made, we could have a, a 2.0 and whatnot.
Yes, sir.
So this is just the approval for the initial version, and then feel free to make improvements, as you go along. So.
Will
Yes, sir.
improvements need to come back to council? Or once we just approve a pamphlet, then they can update it as needed? Like if they're going to tweak the Old Spanish Trail or they're going to add some businesses, they can do that?
Yeah,
Okay,
I
great.
think I think we should give them the freedom to make their updates as they
Yeah, I
see
just
fit.
didn't want y'all to have to come back every.
I'll make a motion to approve 9B as written.
Yeah, I got a motion and a second. Please vote on your computer screens, please. Yeah, Randy was the second. Okay, we have a 6-0. Looks like Terrence is abstaining due to absence. Okay, so it passes, carries.
Thank you,
Thank you, Shane.
Thank you, council.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay. Next up is 9C, discussion action on a proposed contract with BB Inspection Services for health inspections. Mr. Hanson.
Okay, Mayor, Council, thank you for letting me provide a presentation and talk about the health inspections and the current process that we have in the city of Cibolo. The purpose of this presentation is to inform Council that staff is considering a transition of health services from Cibolo's current third-party health inspector to BB Inspection Services. Hit it for me. Okay, so the health inspector that I use, my current registered sanitarian is Dennis Thayer. I've known Dennis for about 10 years, and he works for me in multiple municipalities right now. Mr. Thayer has nearly 50 years of experience as a registered sanitarian and corporate food safety manager, heading food safety and environmental health programs at local jurisdictions and industry organizations across the country. He currently oversees inspection programs in multiple cities around the greater San Antonio area. And Mr. Thayer and his team are extremely familiar with municipal health permits and inspections. Dennis also has a team of inspectors. So there's Dennis is in charge of the other three. There's Jeffrey, Diana, and Raul. All four are licensed, registered sanitarians. These are the cities that I currently provide health inspections for with Dennis and his team. The city of Windcrest, the city of Live Oak, city of Bulverde, Gray Forest, Castle Hills, and the city of Helotes. Their process and procedures, as well as the online permitting, is very similar to what the city of Cibolo already has set up. So if we made this transition from to using BB inspection services for health inspections. The benefits to the city is a higher level of customer service for residents and business owners. Right now, the permit technicians that work for Matt at the front counter at the Annex building already take in the applications for health permits. The biggest difference here is they would communicate directly with our own registered sanitarian. The simplification of the fee schedule, there's a minor revenue increase to the city. And probably the biggest benefit is it moves responsibility from the planning department to the building department, which would free up a lot of staff hours and time by moving that responsibility downstairs to the building department. The service, Mr. Thayer is always available to respond quickly to inspections and time-sensitive issues, ensuring both new and existing food establishments are safe and compliant. The team uses the most modern and updated inspection system developed by the Texas DSHS and Food and Drug Administration. They do have a separate checklist that we would plan to integrate with My Government Online and keep all of our records within our current permitting system. It's plug and play. Mr. Thayer and his team already use MGO in other cities, and we will be providing special events and weekend coverage, things like farmers markets, Cibolo Fest, things that are currently outside of the current health inspector's scope. So the goal of changing the fee schedule is to reduce customer concerns and confusion around fees and appropriate permit types. The action is to revise the fee schedule and provide clear direction to the applicant. So right now we have a different number of permits with even kind of subsets of permit types based off of gross sales. What we would like to do, and if you see our proposed change for 2024, is to simplify that, provide one annual health permit for $200. Event permits are $40, unless the person that is doing something like a mobile vendor or something for special events, if they purchase one $200 annual permit, that covers all of their event permits for the year. Follow-up inspections for things like re-inspections due to citations found, that would be $125. And if you can see, compared to 2023, it really simplifies things, and it's a lot shorter, and it's much easier to understand. The comparison, current fee schedule with the current third-party inspector to the proposed fee revisions and moving everything over to Dennis and his team. Right now, we're taking in $16,285 from June to June. The health permit fees proposed would be $16,920. And if you see, the city revenue is pretty close to the same. There is a slight increase going to this new proposed, going from $6,285 to $6,768. And again, the one-year fee comparison is from June 2023 to June 2024. We would also be pushing for turnkey services, seamless operations. The planning department is currently responsible for Cibolo's health program. These responsibilities will be transferred to the building department at no additional cost to the city. The planning department has current responsibilities like tracking, billing, yearly reminders, and communication with the current off-site third-party health inspector. Again, Matt's permit technicians already take a lot of this paperwork in downstairs at the Annex building. So hopefully, if we took on the health inspections, it would also improve customer service. So in conclusion, BB Inspection Services offers a wider range of services for Cibolo citizens and business owners with no revenue loss to the city. And staff recommends council to authorize the city manager to execute a contract with BB Inspection Services to assume all health inspections and responsibilities for the city of Cibolo.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Does anyone on council have any questions? Councilman Hicks?
So you keep bringing up revenue, but what's it going to cost us? Is it going to offset?
It is. There's a little bit more coming back to the city because I based that comparison on our current 60-40 contract split.
Right.
So if you took the current amount of work and you plugged it into our proposed fee schedule and you plugged it into our 60-40 split, the city's revenue would go up about $500 based off of the work that we did over the past year.
we'd get $500 more a year, but we're not paying any more out of pocket.
Yes, sir. That's
Okay.
correct. You get a little bit more, and then the planning department gets this off their plate.
And so what you're saying is planning department is, that's one less thing on their bucket
Yes, sir.
list?
This would completely transfer everything over to Matt and his team.
To
Any other
clarify, what
questions?
the planning department now is coordinates all the inspections with our other current contractor, and that work will, as Mr. Beeler said, will transfer completely over to the building inspections department.
One last question then. Do we have a contract with the current one, or is it one that we can break without lawsuits?
We do have an agreement with our current third-party inspector. We do have it written with a provision, I think it's 60 days notice that it can transfer, and we have had discussions about this potential transfer already as well.
So you have discussed it with them?
Yes.
Letting them know that
That it's a
depending on,
possibility, yes.
depending on council, but say we approve it tonight, then you have to go and give them 60 days tomorrow.
I believe, I'll have to see, I don't recall if it's 60 days off the top of my head, but it's between 30 and 60 days. We'll make sure that that's appropriately done,
Okay.
with the intent of this starting obviously in next fiscal year.
Oh, so it is, we're looking at budget year wise, so.
Yes,
they've got
October
until
1
1st.
is when we would be looking
That's
at
fine,
starting
okay.
this. Thank you, great question.
That would have been nice. Okay, thank you.
Councilman Mahoney?
Yes, a quick question. When you talk about customer service, trying to picture, where does that happen? Are we talking about at the front counter over here at a building? Or out on the scene of the,
All the above. I can speak from experience that Dennis is very responsive to complaints. We provide next day inspections. He keeps his own calendar. So some cities choose to do inspections 2 to 3 times a year, and he keeps it on his own calendar and to ensure that all inspections are completed. But communication is key. Dennis would work for us as well as his team, so those inspections would be obviously performed by him, but requested by Matt's team and their permit technicians.
okay, thank you.
Mr. Hanson, one thing that I do want with these health inspections is to make sure that we have the score in the restaurants that are inspected. So that way they have on the window when people walk in, if it's an A, B, whatever. So that way they can make that decision when they go in. Does that make sense?
Say that again, sir. That you said schools?
No, the scores. You know, when you get a health
Oh.
inspection, you either get like an A or an A minus, a B, whatever. You know, I want the score to be posted in the window for the business.
We can, and that's something that we can modify our current process, most importantly our form, and we can make something that we require that they post.
Okay.
Because that's something that the health inspector can do, is to make random visits and make sure
Right.
you have your license and then check the score.
Yeah,
Right.
we just want to make sure it's posted prominently, so that way we don't have, if somebody gets a D, they put it on the back wall, on the bulletin board with a,
No, you're absolutely right, Mayor. I noticed at Catalano's, they've got theirs right underneath where you pay your bill.
yep.
It sits there, A+ usually.
There you go.
I totally agree with that. I got a quick question for you, though, before we make a motion. You keep bringing up customer service, customer service, customer service. Are we having bad customer service right now? Is that an issue? I'm transparent, that's why I'm asking. So throw it out there.
Right. So one of the things that I know right now is we don't have a process in place for special events. So Cibolo Fest, things like that, where they serve food. The current inspector does not work weekends and after hours, whereas Dennis will provide that service. Our current inspector is also contractually capped at $10,000 a year, so he's kind of on a retainer. So anything after $10,000, he doesn't really have much of a motivation or incentive to go out and continue to do inspections. But as far as the nuts and bolts of actually like the technical aspect of like food sanitarians, I couldn't speak to his actual like inspections. Dennis would probably be the better person to ask on that. But
you know, customer service. You mentioned in your presentation several times. I'm trying to figure out if we currently have bad customer service.
Internally, my only, not even going to call it a complaint, is just communication with the current health inspector, just returning phone calls and things. Maybe Matt could probably speak better to that.
I'm in the office every day. So Monty does a commendable job, but we don't have much communication with him. We can provide his number. Going with Dennis and his team would bring everything in-house. He would be under our department, and we would have direct line of communication with him at all times. And then the very act of submitting these reports digitally is going to improve everything, give everything a lot faster. Scores will be, I would say, more obvious. Right now, we're getting, when our current third party is giving us their inspection reports, they're mailing us a big packet of yellow carbon copies that are faded and tough for staff to get through. Like, half the time we're making calls and figuring out what's going on here. So on site, he's perfectly fine, of no doubt. But this will just bring us into the new age. And
Councilman
Mr. Hicks, if I could just respond. One indicator of bad customer service is businesses calling us, telling us that they're having issues. I'm not aware of any calls in that regard. And without the contractor here, I don't think anybody here is trying to disparage Monty and his service delivery. The proposed service delivery, as Mr. Beeler and Mr. Hansen have alluded, brings it really into the 21st century. It's digitized. There's next day inspections. There's a whole staff in building inspections in addition to the inspector that will complement this service delivery now. And so I just think another way of saying it is we're increasing and improving the customer service model, not to disparage the current provider.
Okay, I've heard a lot of customer service. Want to
Okay.
find out.
Thanks, Mr. Hicks. All right, I'm now recognize Councilman Mahoney.
Yeah, I want to just revisit that for just a second and maybe answer Mr. Hicks' question. The reason I brought it up is a little bit of a detour maybe, but I hear complaints from people that walk into the city annex building and stand in that little hallway, and they say the people behind the glass don't even look up, don't even wait on me. What's going on? And I try to tell them, I think that's where we have a subcontractor seated, and it's not really city employees, and I don't know if they understand. And so that's the only reason I brought it up, is I hope that's not, I don't even want to say this, but I hope it's not systemic in the company. I want people walking in our building to be greeted with a smile by somebody, even if they're a contractor, not a city employee. It's very important. And a few times in the last few months, I've heard this from some people with connections, an HOA president that's a good friend of mine, some other people, and they look to me like, what is going on? You know, why are we treated this way?
Yeah, we shouldn't. Yeah, I understand, sir. Yeah, that's something that we can address because we don't want to be looked at as just contractors. We want to be looked at as a.
It's kind of like it's the face of Cibolo when somebody walks in there.
Yes,
so
sir.
We need help in that area.
Our goal is to be an extension of the city. Yeah, we don't want to be contractors, and we will address that and dig into that, sir.
Service with a smile.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Hetzel.
Yes. When we're holding these events, there's a number of Meals on Wheels type operations. A number of those are not necessarily registered in the city. Are we going to be inspecting them also?
Yes, so the food trucks are on the annual health permit for the $200, and if they're at an event, it would be $40 per event.
Okay.
So the previous for the food truck and mobile vendors was $95, so their fee did go up from $95 to $200, like the rest of the annual health food permits.
Okay. So they may not be registered in the city then?
Well, they have to get a permit. They would have to go through that process. What do you mean by?
Well, for taxable reasons. You know, most businesses pay taxes, but we've had instances in the past where Meals on Wheels types come in and open up their windows, sell, and then haul. and the city hasn't gotten any taxes back on the thing, and gets kind of irritating.
Yes, sir. That's something we can discuss. They definitely would need a permit, and that's something that
Okay.
we would ask them for when they start selling food. Make sure they have their $200 permit or their $40 per event permit.
Okay,
But
thank you.
I could talk to the team about the taxes.
I like the $40 per event, because like when the powwow comes in, a lot of those people are not from the area. They are from out of town and out of state. They come and they always sell out, always. But if it's $40 per event, I mean, I don't see them going and spending the $200. You know, they spend the $40 right there. And I take it that our vendor that we use will be able to take their cash or take a credit card.
We would process it through MGO and they would get a permit. So we would check for permits at the event. We wouldn't provide services without a permit. And yes, the $40 is great. And if it's a vendor that's doing the once a month farmer's market and they want to get the $200 permit because they don't want to pay $40 each time, that's also an option for them.
Thank you, Mr. Hanson. Can I entertain a motion? Got a motion and a second. Please vote on your screens. Hicks? Ayes have it, 7-0.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to nine. Let's see. No, he's not here, right? Okay, we'll move on then. Okay. 9D, discussion action authorizing funding for a 5-year agreement for Tyler Technologies for a law enforcement records management system for the Cibolo Police Department. Chief Andres, how you doing, sir?
Hey, good evening, Mayor and Council members. Chief Dedrick Andrews for the record. So before you tonight, we have the police department seeking funding for a new and enhanced record management system. So I know we've had some discussions about this, and this will be with Tyler Technologies. So what would the Cibolo Police Department be getting with Tyler Technologies? Tyler software is a force multiplier for your officers. It provides better technology and allows our officers to write reports in the field and then to resume work and get back more efficiently and quicker. Tyler facilitates sharing of investigative information with violators with our Schertz Police Department, and being able to do that through a record management system, which would be much more efficient. But also, Tyler provides for integration with current existing technologies that we have here in the city of Cibolo. We currently use Tyler Technologies ticket writers. Municipal court is a part of the Tyler software system, and currently our county jails are on Tyler as well. The Cibolo Police Department, I think, will benefit from a direct relationship with Tyler because we will not have to really go through Schertz for assistance. This will be our own system carrying our data. However, when it comes to collaboration and configuration, as we update the system, that would be done in partnerships with between Cibolo and Schertz. Again, I talked about our own data. I think that's important so that this system benefits our community, mayor, council, city manager's office, as well as the police department as we develop this to meet the needs of the Cibolo Police Department. Finally, I think, Tyler is a financially strong institution. It's stable. It's been in the industry for a while. I think their reputation precedes itself, and I think Tyler will allow us to provide technology that will enhance our public safety ability through a record management system for years to come. Now, one of the things I think is important is we currently have a strong partnership with the city of Schertz, and this multi-jurisdictional agreement with Tyler Technologies will allow us to continue that, to enhance public safety services where we're working hand in hand with our partners. But also, I think this interlocal agreement would allow us, to even enhance operations because we share a partnership with Schertz through dispatch services. So as we continue to seek approval for this record management system, I do think it will strengthen our current relationship with Schertz, but also provide premier public safety for our residents. So if you have any other questions related to this item, I'd be glad to ask them.
Councilman Hicks.
I'm just glad that we've finally come to fruition. Something I've been asking for years and years and years since being on council. And I'm glad to see that Schertz has already got it. It's where that way, if, for example, I know this weekend, Schertz had to come and help out because we had that major accident on 10. So they can still be able to write a report if they need to write the report, and we can still make sure that it goes and gets filed in the city of Cibolo. So I think this is a great benefit to the city. I think it's a great benefit to be able to have where we can have our police officers out there to where they're seen instead of them having to come back, because I know that Guadalupe County for the longest time, I mean, Judge Friesenhahn was out there, you know, he's served for 30 years now, and he retired, and then he's still serving as a justice of the peace. But he would always, if he was writing, if he had a report over here in Schertz, Cibolo, or Selma, they'd have to drive all the way back to Seguin to do that report. And I just think it's a benefit because not only that, they can be writing that report right there because they've got it consciously in their mind. Okay, this happened, I talked to them. You know, I know that they're writing it down, but now this way they've, oh yeah, I remember I asked her this. So I think this is great. I'm glad that we finally come to fruition on this. I think it's great. Thank you, Chief.
So they can write the report while sitting in the HEB parking lot. I know you've mentioned that a few times, Joel, so here you go, my man. All right. Okay. All right. Councilman Hetzel.
Yes, sir. Quick question. Once this is, the offender has been adjudicated, is that information fed back into the system?
Yeah, so all of our information will be kind of fed back into the system, but because when they're adjudicated, obviously that goes through the DA's office, right? So we would have, Tyler would be able to integrate with systems, and that's what allows us with them with any other software they may have.
What I was wondering specifically is once the court decides, is that put back into the system as a confirmation?
Yeah, well, if we have somebody that's arrested, probation, or something comes with that case, we actually get confirmations now that comes back on a monthly basis from them.
Okay, we wouldn't want to leave it out in the open.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry, Councilman Terrence Benson.
Chief, who's the hosting agency?
So the hosting agency would be Schertz.
Okay, and we're the add-on agency?
I'm sorry?
We're the add-on agency?
Yeah, we would be an add-on agency.
Okay, so explain to me where it says form customization for the add-on agency, us, to diverge from the host agency are not allowed. What does that mean?
Which one is that, sir?
Page
Add-on
5,
agency?
second note on page 5 of your presentation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, host agency, add-on agency would be required to provide frontline support personnel for added costs on agency go live. Well, I think what that means is that when you look at that, when we get ready to go live, what we're saving on with added costs. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And workflows that are adopted by the host agency, so I assume anything that's adopted by Schertz, workflows and forms that they adopt, are the templates for the activity completed by us. Form customization for us, I'm just changing the words as you describe them, to diverge from whatever Schertz did are not allowed. So we basically, by adding on from Schertz, we have to accept every one of their forms and every one of their workflows. Is that correct?
No, that wouldn't be correct. Not to my knowledge. I talked with Tyler. We would be able to add our own forms, but obviously any upgrades to the system, we would share with them. But the reports and some of the forms, we would be able to have some of those customizable for us. Now, I'm not going to say every form because we'll be in partnership with them, but to my knowledge and talking with Tyler, we will be able to, for crime data. So we just had a presentation on this, right? If we're looking for certain crime data, we would be able to at least customize some of those things for us.
but that's not what that says. So I think we need to clarify what that means.
Sure.
Because that clearly means to me that whatever Shirts adopts as far as forms and workflows, we have to keep. And there is no ability for us to diverge from that, is the way I read that. So if we could get some clarity on that, I would appreciate it, because
Absolutely.
we're not Shirts, and our workflows and forms may not be the same, and then maybe we need to have a longer conversation about what we're buying.
Yeah, absolutely. If needed, I could have the representative who's worked with me to come in and look at this. But we've had several conversations with them about forms and certain things from this, and we've been assured that our data would be ours and they would be able to customize some things with us.
I understand that, but that's what's written, and so
Yeah,
what's
yes, sir.
written is what's actually fact, not what they said in a meeting.
Absolutely.
Councilwoman Sanchez Stevens.
Chief, with all the training, how long is the training actually going to take, and then when can you expect this to go live?
Well, it's going to take us some time. So obviously, once we get in here, we are really going to be playing catch up because we need to figure out how far Shirts along in the process. Because they've been going at this for now about 6 months. So when you look at training and go live, some of these things take almost up to a year before we actually get into go live and the systems in place. So we will be playing catch up with them. But when we get ready to come in, what's helping us with cost on this is that we would be able to hopefully catch up to speed, and we'll go live with them simultaneously and get training from from Tyler Technologies vendors. So that's how that would work. But I've been a part of RMS systems. It's not going to be anything that's going to happen overnight. This is going to take a significant amount of time for us to get all of the systems integrated, and then before it's rolled live and the officers are using the system.
So we're guessing about a year?
I would say that, but I don't know how far Shirts has gotten along in the process.
Okay.
So
Councilman
we'll have to see.
Mahoney.
I'll pass.
Okay. Councilwoman Cunningham.
On the first page, City of Shirts is spelled wrong.
City of Shirts?
Is spelled wrong.
Oh, really?
S-H-E-R-E-T-R-Z. Yeah.
All right.
I also want to confirm that our attorney has looked over this contract to make sure it's okay.
Councilmember Cunningham, to the extent that the contract was legal, we did review that, but we were not aware of any of the terms associated with the active option. Those are things that the client decides. So I agree with Councilmember Benson, understanding that those are the kinds of things you'd like us to look into, then we can inquire further when we do that work.
Yeah, that's my concern, is what Mr. Benson brought up, the forms. I would like to have something in writing in some way, shape, or form that says joint forms, because there's going to be standard forms that everyone uses. Like a police report is not going to deviate too much between Shirts and Cibolo, but there might be a specialized form that Cibolo needs for something else. So I'd like something that says that joint forms would be discussed between both agencies before going into effect, and that Cibolo does retain the right to have at least some kind of flexibility in creating our own, because that is very limiting, and I'd hate to have us stuck with forms that aren't useful to us just because we've signed on to this agreement. It's a lot of money to just accept forms.
Oh, and I want to be clear, as I said, that I think there are some forms and we can work on in there, but there's going to be some forms that we're going to share
Yes.
as that comes a part of this agreement.
Totally fine.
Yeah, we won't be able to have every form. That's not what this is. In order for us to do that, we would have to sign our own RMS contract.
Right, and that's totally fine. If it's one that we can agree on and we can settle for because
Sure.
it's cheaper for us, great. But if there is a change made, I would like Cibolo to still be included in the discussions about what changes are made to those shared forms. Because we are paying a $93, however much, $1,000 a year. Yeah, so this is quite a lot of money for us to not have any say over the forms, whether they're joint forms or have any say over creating our own or customizing them to us. And that's only because that statement was included in here.
Sure.
That's a concern. So since that's on here, I would like something in writing added to the contract or something.
An explanation,
that
right?
just says, yeah, sorry, that was a typo. We didn't really mean that. You will still have that ability. But I don't feel comfortable signing or approving a contract if we don't even have any kind of control over
So
anything.
we want clarity as
Yeah.
to that statement in the contract. Randy
Council-
Roberts.
I was just going to respond to your last question.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. What we'll do is we're going to identify any of those kind of triggers in the contract and then share with the police department what the ripple effect is, what this actually is going to mean. And then that way they could go back to the vendor, get some clarification, and then review that and bring it back to you.
And I just want to clarify too, this is not saying that Schertz is going to bulldoze us and they've got a terrible system. That is not it at all. We're two separate cities. We're working on this together. I think there's a lot of room that we can cooperate, but on the areas where Cibolo is a little bit different, I would like to ensure that we do have that flexibility in the agreement, and that Schertz knows that we're a partner with them, and that these shared forms and shared pieces of the system are in fact shared, that we are a part of those conversations as well.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think the last thing we need is to sign on to something and then find out that we're not able to use part of the software because that's not how you've designed your workflow to go. And now your officers still can't use it, and they got to come back to PD because that form or that workflow still doesn't work for us. And we spent a bunch of money for what we have now. And I'm not saying it'll be that. I'm just saying you don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. I'm reading this in a document that I get, and I'm like, what does this mean? And I don't think anybody knows. And I think we need to know that before we say, yeah, let's sign on to that.
Mr. Roberts, go ahead.
In my opinion, I think what would be helpful for all of us, where's Tyler Technologies out of?
I'm sorry?
Where's Tyler out of? Where's the home office?
Oh, I'd have to, I believe,
Yeah, Tyler.
I know, you got me on that one. I have to pull it up.
Suspect not. Okay, well, that's even better. I think what would be helpful for us, I mean, this amount of expenditure, we have a whole lot less expenditures and a representative from the company is here. And I think that's what we need. We need somebody we can talk to, ask the questions, and interact with you as well.
Yeah, and I think that's, again, was a part of the RFP process that they went through, right? And we got most of their documentation and had conversations. If we want to get some clarity on this, I'm fine with it. I would just say from a law enforcement perspective, I don't think we're going to find a lot of forms to be that different than what we are processing that all goes through the county. But absolutely, if there are some processes and work improvements that we need to tailor to us, then absolutely we can address that with them.
Well,
Okay.
with that being said, I'd make a motion to postpone or table this.
Okay.
So where we can get some clarification. And to Mr. Roberts, if maybe you can talk to Tyler and see if one of their representatives, because that's a lot of money, for them to make a $500 trip down to Cibolo to give us a little explanation,
I
that'd be
would
great.
absolutely say that. So we didn't ask him to come. I believe that if I would have asked Mr. Burrell to come, he would have been here. They've been working through the agreement. So I did not ask him to come after looking at most of the stuff they did. They've come in and done demos for us and provided those, and we've been kind of in close consultation with Schertz on this. But I don't think you would see any objection with them coming down here and
Okay,
meeting with
so,
us.
so we're going to table this, and if you can bring your representative to the next meeting, and he can answer our questions. So we got a motion to table.
Second.
And I'll make that motion to table until Chief can get one of the Tyler representatives to come down so we
Okay.
can ask some questions.
Okay, we got a motion to table on the floor. Councilman Benson
quick.
seconded.
I'll get over now.
Thank you.
Benson second. Okay.
I think he's watching the meeting, so I'll give him a call.
Okay, do we need to, yeah, we'll just vote on the screen. On the motion to table. Okay, 7-0. All right, next up is George?
I
Go ahead.
just, the headquarters for Tyler Technology is currently in Plano, and I didn't want to misrepresent that, and so I was going to make that correction.
Maybe we should go to Plano.
It's just a plain old thing.
It's just Plano.
All right, so motion to table 7-0. Okay, next up is 9E, discussion action on the City of Marion request for funding for its library not to exceed $20,000. Mr. Reed, so, I mean, I think the library is probably the least of their concerns right now.
Yes,
But
sir. And-
maybe I was thinking, well, go ahead. I'm
Yes,
thinking,
sir.
I think I know the direction you're going to take us in, but go ahead.
And just let me clarify, the request is from the Marion Community Library Association. Miss Wendy Wolf, the president of that Community Library Association, is on the letter, and so I want to disassociate this with the city of Marion, so excuse me, I'm going to use the letter specifically in the nonprofit association that's making this request. So it's as simple as it sounds. So this Community Library Association has worked with Guadalupe County in the past to seek some funding. Judge Kutcher asked Ms. Wolf, would you please ask some of the local communities in the county for additional funding? And that is why we're getting this letter. The City Council, in its wisdom, started a strategic partnership grant program where you have criteria by which you determine, is there a return on your investment to partner with nonprofits whose missions are aligned with the services that they provide that really are not core to the city services. And so staff's recommendation is that you give me direction to communicate with Ms. Wolf that we encourage her upon the adoption of the FY25 budget to submit for a strategic partnership grant and compete for dollars from our community to support their library. And we would communicate to her that it's important for her to document how many Cibolo residents are actually using that library so that the council can translate what's the benefit coming back to the city. That council may also say, thanks for the recommendation, we'd like to fund this, or we'd like not to consider it at all. So whatever council's direction is, I will take that back to Ms. Wolf.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reed. I was going to make that exact same recommendation, so I think you did a really good job. You too, Mr. Hicks? Okay.
Yep.
Have them
Mr. Mayor,
apply for.
I'm sorry, or Mayor Pro Tem Hicks, because the item on the agenda was not the nonprofit association, it can be confusing to the public. And so I was going to ask that, I mean, if you want to direct your city manager to do something, I think that's fine. But if you intend to take action, I would ask that you postpone it so that it can be reposted properly to provide adequate notice under the Open Meetings Act.
So to be honest, you know, we're going to take action. There's really no need. We're just going to take action to direct the city manager to ask them to apply for our grant that'll come up next year that Mr. Huggins is in charge of.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, I don't know that we need to bring this back.
I don't think we need to bring it back either.
Direction, that direction.
Yeah, I think direction is understood here. I don't even think we need to vote. I think we're good as far as the direction to go. Anybody have any objection to that direction? To funnel them to the strategic grant partnership program? Okay, that's the direction. We're going to move on. Thanks, Mr.
Mayor,
Reed.
Council, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up is 9F, discussion from council members that have attended seminars, events, and meetings. We'll start with Councilman Hicks.
Well, a little bit to discussion that the commission report last week, we had one today. Went to the board of directors meeting. Saturday or Tuesday or Thursday still. The qualifications for the CMO, qualifications, there's some discussion on changing those up from 72 hours to 60 hours, which would convey the same as to get 1 credit, you need 1.2 to get 1 credit. So you provide 17,000. So it would be the same hours, but that was about the only discussion. We did have some discussion on Uvalde. They had to pay out there for the city. It was a sombering discussion, but we did have some discussion on that. And one other thing that you'll like, as I am on the committee, the Policy Summit Committee, that's going to take place August 12th and 13th up in Austin. And that's where I know that you've been pushing this for the last couple of years, even as councilman, the getting something on the books for taking legislation up to the Capitol. And that would be, I'll work with you on some of the stuff you want added to that. And any council member that wants something brought to be brought up in legislation, but I know yours is at,
Yeah,
the-
I've got
the
at least
base.
three things that I'm
Okay.
looking at, but that's definitely one of them. Thank you.
but I
This
will
is,
be
this
in
is
that.
through TML, right?
Yes, this
Okay.
is TML.
Yeah,
So
let's work together on that,
that was my
Councilman Hicks.
board of directors meeting, and then, they've got endorsement request openings for National League of Cities. So if anybody's interested in that, get with me.
Okay.
And that's about all I've got.
Thank you, Councilman Hicks. Appreciate your time that you spend on TML and being CMO certified, so congratulations. Thank you. You have anything, Dick Etzel?
Oh, just a minor thing. For those of you that missed the popcorn party yesterday with the police, it turned out rather well. There's a gazillion kids running loose there, and they seemed to enjoy themselves, and it was good contact between the police department, the fire department, and a number of parents, too. So, oh, and also our civilian police force, too. So that worked out rather well. Also, looking for a volunteer for the silver-haired legislators. Yeah, I know, mine's getting there too, but it's getting thin on the top. But anyway, just wanted to put that one out there. If somebody wants to get involved with the folks up in Austin, get back to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hitt. Thank you, Mr. Etzel. Norma Sanchez-Stevens.
I'm good at this time.
Katie Cunningham?
So last meeting, I forgot to mention that I had gone on a tour of the new apartments across from Steele. They're called Us Cibolo, not US Cibolo, not Verosade, not any of the things that I thought it was called. It's Us Cibolo. No, they're the builder. They are very nice. They look a lot larger than they actually are. It's only 280-ish units, but they're configured in a big box around a very long central corridor that has their pool. It has cornhole. It has dog washing station. It has a facility with like tools where you can do maintenance on whatever you want. I don't know. It's got a lot of stuff. They're very nice. They are open to having tours to anyone who's interested in looking at them. They were having clients move in at the end of June. They had a few units that had clients moving in with hopeful being completely open in September, October. So they're working on that. They have a lot of shared community space, which I mentioned the city of Cibolo may reach out to use for meetings and such. They have conference rooms and things like that. Overall, I was really impressed with it. They have some of one of the apartments that I saw overlooks toward Walmart, but it's all that green space right now, and it felt like a completely different city, like you're overlooking Central Park or something. It was very discombobulating, but that was really fun to go visit and see some of the things that they're doing. They're working really hard at outreaching to local businesses. They're going to have a whole area where they're having pamphlets and brochures and menus and things like that for all of the local businesses in Cibolo. They're trying to encourage people to walk to downtown. I told them that we'll eventually have sidewalks on 1103 that will connect to HEB, and then they'll be able to walk to downtown from those trails. So they were excited about that. They're trying to be very an active community.
That'd be a good place for that historical pamphlet.
Yeah, it would be. I also have been fostering 3 kittens from the animal shelter for the last 5 or 6 weeks.
Those
They're
are yours.
very...
Just admit it, they're yours.
No, we can't keep them. My 2 old lady cats are not thrilled. The animal shelter is at capacity, if not over capacity right now, with both cats and dogs. The Bissell Pet Foundation, I don't know what it's called, but it's the Bissell Pet Foundation helps sponsor pet adoptions. So right now, adoptions are only $25 per animal. That includes their shots, their spay-neuter, their microchip, their dewormer, everything else that an animal needs to get started. So please consider adopting a pet from the shelter. And if you can't, fostering's super easy. They give you everything that you need. They'll even give you the food if you need it. And they are the sweetest kittens ever. So if you need a little tiny 2-pound kitten, I've got 3 of them.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Katie. And that Us Cibolo, are they open for business yet?
They had some residents move in at the end of last month.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if they're fully open for business, but you can reach out to Robert.
Okay. And are they planning a ribbon cutting with one of our chambers?
They
Okay,
will be.
they will be. Okay,
They
let me
will
know
not
when
be
that comes
fully
up.
open until this fall, though.
Okay, so the ribbon cutting will probably be closer to the fall.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right. Councilman Mahoney, anything? Nothing? Councilman Roberts? No? Terrence? Okay.
I got
All
one
right. Oh, go
other
ahead.
thing to
One more
add.
time.
She mentioned tours, and I brought it up the last time at our, so much, AAMPO. They contacted me about tours for the Brooks, the old Air Force Base. One this morning at 9, or at 10, and I told her I'd like to invite any of the other council members to go. So they've got one on the 11th at 3:30, or one on August 7th at 1:30. So if y'all want to take a tour of the base, or their old base, it's now the Brooks. Let me know. I'm probably going to go on July 11th, but if y'all would like to go on August 7th, 1:30, let me know.
Okay.
But I will be going on the 11th.
Thank you, Councilman Hicks.
It would be interesting to see the amount of development that they're bringing in, how they're, like Mr. Reed's always pushing the PPD, or, you know, the
Public-private development.
Yeah, well, this is one of
Partnership.
those.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. Next up is G, discussion on items the city council would like to see on future agendas. Anybody have anything? What's the topic, Gigi? Hotel study, okay. All right. Well, I guess it's not on the agenda, so we can't talk about it now, but is she here still? I guess not. Okay. All right. You got that, Peggy? Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to H, discussion action on the review and confirmation of all upcoming special meetings and workshops and scheduling the time, date, and place of additional special meetings or workshops. And so, Peggy, we did talk at the beginning of this meeting about the special meeting we're going to hold next Tuesday.
On next Tuesday, on the 16th, the
Yep.
budget workshop will be from 5 PM to 8 PM. And then the special meeting to cover that item will be from 8 to 9.
Okay, from 8 to 9, and that'll cover the contract. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
So everyone will get they'll get 2 agendas. They'll get a workshop agenda, then they'll get a special meeting agenda, and we will send it by calendar invite also.
Thank you. And if we could also include the, George, if you have the finalized version, we could send that out in the packet along with that agenda. So I want to give our council members, you know, something around a week to review that document. So that way everyone will come into the meeting having read it, and then we'll be able to discuss.
Yeah, I'm hoping to have that done tomorrow,
Okay.
if that works with their lawyer.
Okay, very good. That'd be good. I mean, that's close to a week, 6 days, so that should be enough time for folks to read it. Anything else, Peggy? That's it? Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to, okay, well, no, Donovan? No? Okay. Well, we'll just stay on course then. 10A, approval, disapproval of an ordinance prohibiting parking on Borgfield Road between Cibolo Valley Drive and Bentwood Ranch Drive / Everyday Way, as well as Bentwood Ranch Drive between Borgfeld Road and Loch Lomond Drive. Mr. Huggins.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mayor and Council. So tonight, this is an amendment to our current prohibited parking ordinance that we have in place. So if you're familiar with this, and most of you should be, we've had an issue with parents parking out there on Borgfield Road. It started with a couple of cars waiting to get onto the school property when school lets out. It's turned into a wagon train out there. They park all the way down Borgfield Road and turn, and I've started going down Bentwood Ranch now. And so we have a new office complex being built right there on the corner of Borgfield Road and Bentwood Ranch Drive. It's going to have several driveways coming from their property onto those streets. So before school gets started, I've already talked to the school district and said that we're going to be bringing this to you, see if we can get some approval on this so they're aware of it. So if you approve this amendment tonight to prohibit parking on Borgfield and on Bentwood Ranch Drive, we can get the school district to put a notice out to parents before school starts up again. Any questions?
That just sounds like a good idea.
Have some questions.
Okay, well, we're going to start with Councilman Hicks, and then I'll pass it over to you, Councilman Mahoney.
My daughter will be 21 in September, and they've had that line there for that many years. That's where she attended elementary. That line's been there, and nothing has ever happened. That was my big concern with this complex going in there, is you've got two driveways, and they're going to be blocked. So I'm glad that to see us doing something. My question is, we had the same problem across from Steele High School. Is the school district going to let the parents know, either go and pick up your car, your kid? I don't want them going over and parking up and filling up the Walmart parking lot to where customers that are paying customers for there are having to accommodate these parents that want to pick up and drop off their kids.
Yes, sir. I understand your concerns. So I'll go with the school district when they put that letter out to parents, letting them know they cannot or should not be utilizing other parking lots within the vicinity of the school district right there.
Well, and then let Robert know at Walmart if there's an uptick in that he lets, he can let me know. I mean,
Well, they
I've
can
got
let
his
us know
number.
that they put
Or
a sign
let
up.
y'all know.
George has already approved, the signage that we can put up in those locations prohibiting parking like that. So,
Okay.
Councilman Mahoney, you had a question?
A couple of questions. Do we know who's going to occupy this new office complex? What sort of businesses?
I think some of it says medical out there. I'm not sure exactly all it's going to be medical.
So that is widely different, not even remotely parallel to what's going on across from Steele where there's restaurants, right?
Well, we had parking issues with 7-7 Dental.
Well,
Snap
it was
Fitness.
in their parking lot, right?
I'm sorry?
You're talking about in their
Yes, sir.
parking lot.
Yes, sir. We had parents parking in their parking lot, waiting for the kids to get out of school, walk across 1103, and then picking them up. And so
Well,
we had complaints about them utilizing that parking lot for not business related to the businesses in that parking lot.
Well, here's my perspective on this. Starting in 2018, I moved here because of two grandsons. And I was in that carpool line, one of the people clogging it up along the westbound curb
We won't hold
lane.
it against you right now.
Yeah. And since there's two westbound lanes, I never saw any problem about traffic passing by, except one time at the intersection where the stop signs are, one time, there was a school bus that had some difficulty. And Officer Dahlstein showed up and straightened it out quick.
Yes, sir.
This congestion, this problem that we're worried about on a city street, to me, is a non-problem. It really, in my mind, it doesn't exist. I didn't enjoy sitting out there, but I never had a difficulty. I have enough faith in my neighbors going to get in that line because largely it's Bitwood Ranch area people. They're not going to block a driveway from a dentist office, just sit there and not let people in and out of the dentist office. I really think this is much ado about nothing. I really think it's not needed. It's a circumstance, it's an environment that exists for about an hour, say 2:30 to 3:45 in the afternoon, and it's done. And to me, this is really going over the top about our authority and putting signs up and down the street. For the need is just not very great. Now, I haven't asked the question, and it's on people's minds, I'm sure. Okay, where are those parents going to be in the meantime? And I can hear some people are thinking, that's not our problem. The school created the problem. Okay, I get all that. But in the meantime, is there a problem that this is going to fix? And I just don't see it.
Well, I as somebody who's come up.
Councilman Roberts,
sorry.
you're up next. You're good? Okay. DG?
I know what's going to happen. I mean, we divert them from there, unfortunately, they're gonna end up in my neighborhood. And prior to you coming, I think it was Chief Cox, it was horrible over there.
It was. Yes, sir.
And, I mean, we're talking miles of cars through the neighborhood. And that's exactly what we'll replicate, because we're gonna move them off of there and they're going to the neighborhood. And they're gonna figure out a way to get their kids in and out. Or Walmart. There's a thousand options here. Is there a good solution? There's not. There's no solution, basically.
There is not a clear-cut solution, that's correct.
So I think we're trading one evil for another, unfortunately. And what's going to end up happening is your cost for service is going to go through the roof when we need to be policing or watching school zones, and we're going to be out watching no parking signs and people in neighborhoods and et cetera. I don't think it's going to solve a problem. If they should have done their due diligence when that problem's been there since day one. They should have done their due diligence when they decided to put that massive complex right there, how they're going to get in and out of it, because it's no secret that the school definitely takes precedence right there. I just don't see this as a fix, like Mr. Mahoney said.
Terrence?
Having said that, I've been one of the people that can't get northbound on Main Street or whatever it's called right there. I can't think, at the intersection, because despite what you think, parents will in fact block that intersection. And I've got video if you want to see it, where I am stuck at a four-way stop because I can't go north. So there are ways to solve this. None of them are the cities. They're the school districts. And we had this very conversation with a school on Cibolo Valley Drive. And I asked this question: would it be okay then if they shifted their traffic off of Borgfeld and put it on Cibolo Valley Drive and took up a lane there? It is a 2-lane road on Borgfeld right there, and they're taking up the entire right lane parking. If they did that on Cibolo Valley Drive, northbound, right there by the school, would anybody think that was acceptable?
Used to do that.
Okay, but this is the problem, right? Again, Legacy had no choice. We can pull their cup if they don't keep their traffic on their school. So what do? They have ways to do this. They came to this the planning and zoning for sure, because I was there, and told us how they were going to do it. And I have not heard a complaint. I'm not saying they're perfect. I'm just saying we have not seen lines of traffic. They do lots of things. The same thing that Steele High School could have done. I had an interesting conversation with the principal at Steele High School when I went over there to visit, and she laughed because, oh, you're the one that required me to do something. I said, yeah, what'd you do? And she said, nothing. Right? That was her response to our requesting them to get off the street, was nothing. I don't know how many acres Steele High School is, but I guarantee you they could work out a car flow to put all their traffic on it and allow the police officers, the traffic signals or whatever we get out there to get traffic in and off 1103. They just don't. So I get it. You know, I don't know where they're going to go. And Mr. Roberts, I apologize, they're probably going to go in your neighborhood, and that's where they're out on my neighborhood across the street from Slaughter, right? I get it. But we're just going to tell them that a 2-lane road is now a 1-lane road for those times of the day? I mean, that's kind of a problem. If we were going to build a 1-lane road with a parking lot on there, we should have striped it for parking and put it there. And if that's a conversation you want to have, then that's fine. But right now it is a through street.
Yep.
And it should be allowed for cars to flow through there. And if the school district needs to work on that, then they need to work on that. If parents need to get $200 tickets, then they need to get $200 tickets. But they'll figure something out. And I think this is just a failure in leadership to get people to do the right thing. And we are blocking that lane, and we are having problems there. And it's going to continue to be a problem until we wrap our minds around the fact that people have got to be held accountable for parking in a street.
Terrence, I agree with you. I feel that we all identified a problem across from Steele High School, right over there by those neighborhoods and those businesses. no stopping, no standing, no parking, no thinking about it, keep moving, right? And so we all agreed that that was a problem. And then, so how can half of us agree that that's a problem over there, but not a problem over here? You know what I mean? And so I think we need to be consistent. And if we're going to enforce these no stopping, no standing, no parking, we need to do it throughout Cibolo. Katie, go ahead.
Yeah, just to clarify, the Steele situation was a little bit different because it wasn't the backup trying to get onto the campus to pick up their children. They were just people flat out not going onto campus. They didn't want to get in the line. They didn't want to stay in the line. They parked across the street from the school and made their child walk across the street to the car. This has to do with the gate. Mr. Mahoney, you can correct me, but I think that the gate stays closed until a certain time, and then they let parents through to start. So I think that I don't disagree with making it a no parking zone on Borkfield, but I don't think that that's going to be the solution. They need to open the gate, and that's a school thing. We can't force them to open the gate. So I think that this would be a conversation to have with the district and say, this is our problem. We're going to put a no parking zone here if this isn't fixed, or we are putting a no parking zone here and you need to fix it. Either way, but it has to do with the gate and the way that they're letting parents onto the campus. Steele was completely different. I know there's a no parking zone by Slaughter. I think there's no parking zone by Jordan.
Well, what about right there by the mayor's? I mean, you got Cibolo.
Cibolo Valley, that does not have a no parking zone.
Yeah, the one street, you know, where your friend is across the street, yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, but it's not, with elementary schools, you don't have as many parents who are going to park across a busy street and have their kid dodge traffic to
Well, no, but
get
it's
across.
not. They would just
Yeah.
into the neighborhood.
Yeah, they do a little bit, but not excessively. So it hasn't been a problem.
I just wanted to add that it's a gate problem. We need to ask the district to open that gate or figure out something else. I understand.
I will add this caveat, for security reasons, they're not going to go open the gate 2 hours before school is out and let people go park behind the school. That's just a security issue. They would actually have to fence off all the way around the school and then go on the outside of the drive and fence that off because they have portables on the other side of that back there. Yes, sir. So they're really not going to do that for security reasons. Not going to totally understand where they're coming from.
Councilmember Cunningham. In response to your question, if you recall what we did for the Steele parking lot area, we do have the control over private and public parking areas. And so if there is a requirement that you want to place into an ordinance that says all parking areas that have queuing of deliveries or whatever else have to be open for 90 minutes before and 60 minutes after, or however you'd like us to look at that, we could bring back a local ordinance that would require the school district to open the gate.
Yeah, but as Mr. Huggins was saying, there's people that they have nothing better to do than to show up 2 hours before they open it.
Right.
Well, I know, but they will show up 2 hours before their child gets out, and they'll be waiting. Yeah, they are.
So in any case, no matter what we do, I think that this needs to be a conversation with the district. As you mentioned, there are security concerns with fencing and with access to the portables and the playground. And so no matter what we do, if it's going to require the school to get cars onto their property sooner or change their pickup thing, trying to do pickup at an elementary school with those age kids is like herding cats, and they need to have as much notice in advance as possible so that they can get the right staff out there to ensure that kids are getting in their right cars and the right buses, the walkers are getting where they need to go. So no matter what we do, we have to communicate with the school and let them know that this is happening. Okay.
Agreed. I mean, I think my grandson went to Shirts, what's on 35? Shirts Academy? No, Shirts
The academy up there.
Science and Tech, yeah. It's all on their property. There's nobody out on the service road. There's nobody backed up, and they get them in a line, and that's where it's at. They stagger the releases. I mean, it's just, there's things that can be done.
Well, I'll tell you, Barbara Jordan, you know, we're talking about roads. I'm not trying to get off subject, but you got Barbara Jordan. You've got people that are going to the back gate. You got people going to the front gate. I mean, and it's packed up and down both sides. You go to Dobie, when they let them out.
I mean,
You've got parking.
No, I hear
it's a
you. But
constant.
I think at this point, we got to stay a little bit more focused on the language of this ordinance, you know what I mean, and not go too far off. I mean, I get you. I know that we can talk about every school in Cibolo and go on for
That's what I'm
another
saying,
hour,
is
but,
every school in
yeah.
Cibolo, if people wanted to, they could be complaining
right.
about every
But let's
single-
focus on this one for now. Let's figure out a solution here, and if it works, we can take that solution and adopt it elsewhere. So,
I do have a question, Mr. Huggins, if you don't mind, Mayor.
go ahead. Sure.
You just mentioned that you have been speaking to the district. How long has this conversation been happening, and what has been the response?
So this is not something that we just started talking to the school district about. We've been talking to them about this for a while. And it's always been the concern of locking down the property, keeping it secure until school lets out. And so what we've seen over the last few years is parents will wait out there for 2 hours before school even lets out, which just starts where the cars start to stack up. So we're getting cars stacked up for an hour and a half before school even lets out. And so what we've talked to them about is there any way we can do more queuing on their property? Move gates back a little bit, fence off some, push the gates back, double stack them. So those are some conversations I've had with Mr. Mosley at the school district. I said, we're going to look at starting with maybe prohibiting parking out there on Boardfield and Bentwood Ranch, but we've got to have deeper discussions about how do we get more of these cars onto your property and off of the street, especially if we prohibit parking on Boardfield and on Bentwood Ranch Drive.
Okay.
Has there been any response or any commitment to any of your suggestions? Have they moved on?
Yeah,
any
we'll
of
look
them?
at that and see what we can figure out, but there's been no concrete.
I think until we
definitive-
force them to do something, they're going to say, we'll look at it. And then that's all that's going to happen. Just like what TG was mentioning earlier about the principal at Steel. Until you force their hand, they're going to say, yeah, we'll look at it. And then that's it. TG, we got a motion on this one?
And if we do this, we're just gonna force everything on the church as well. And then we gotta hold up separate, that's not fair either. Bring them in. Charge parking.
Well, as you said earlier, Mr. Rob, there's no good,
Yeah.
clear-cut, definitive answer that's going to work for
Yep.
everything all the time. So
I think we've beat this to death, and we've really talked about solutions to problems that we didn't create. So I'm going to call for a motion
I'll
on
make
this
a
one.
motion we approve 10A as written. Approval of 10A.
Any second? Okay, got a motion and a second. Please vote on your computer screens. All right, motion failed. 4-3.
Can we,
What do you want to do, Katie?
I would like to bring this back in September.
Okay.
And if it's still an issue in mid to late September, and the school district has not fixed it, bring it back and we'll put it back on.
So, and just for my clarification, when you
Why,
say
why
fix
wait
it-
till it's a problem? Why don't we get this done
Because-
before the your season start?
I mean, I think conversations.
Microphone.
It's gonna have to take place with the school. And
Yeah.
perhaps between the council and us, I don't know how we get there from here, but they already made that pretty obvious.
Well, and also, is being caused.
So we want to wait until the businesses are impacted to solve what we know is going to happen there? I'm just asking because.
Well, I don't-
We already know from across the street still what happened. I mean, she put up cameras, they knocked the signs down she put up. I mean, I'm fine. I don't have, it obviously failed, so we'll have to bring it back because it's going to come back and it's going to come back in spades. And instead of being proactive, we're going to be reactive, but that's okay.
Talking every last one of them were small businesses.
Yeah. So my thing
Carmel?
is, we
Yeah.
have a new superintendent. The other issues that we were having with parking were under old leadership. She may have a plan. She was a former principal at that school, so she actually knows that campus very well. I'd like to give them a chance before we start blocking off all these streets. We put up no through truck traffic signs on every single street. We're putting no parking on every street. Like it might as well just make the whole city that way. It's little by little by little by little, and I don't know that I just would like to give them one more opportunity. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and we're good to put it in place.
Okay, can I
Okay.
get some clarification from you?
All right.
No, I don't know what I said.
Yeah, I guess,
When you
please.
say it doesn't work,
I make
can
a
we define
motion, we
what
bring
doesn't
this
work?
back in September
Yes.
and we reevaluate where we are in September.
That's better
Okay,
wording.
all
Okay.
right. Okay, all in
First meeting
favor?
in September?
First or second? Oh.
For the first meeting of
First or
September.
second, yeah. But
Okay.
just to have some information, how many cars is it? Is it really still wrapping around the building? How long is it blocking the street? That kind of information.
Fair enough.
And I'll put it on my calendar to go sit over there too.
Okay, so we'll bring this back, Peggy, in September, okay? I don't think we need to make another motion for that. Peggy can do it. Okay, thank you, Peggy. All right, so
Thank you.
let's move on. 10C, approval, disapproval. I'm going to skip B for now because we're going to go in executive session in just a sec, but I wanted to get all the housekeeping done before we go back there. 10C, approval, disapproval of the City of Cibolo 2024 Drought Contingency Plan. Mr. Foos.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. This is the final portion of this. Essentially, we gave you a briefing at the last meeting in reference to the drought contingency plan and how it's important that it aligns with and matches CRWA as well as GBRA. Tonight's the opportunity, it's the final step in this program where council will adopt this ordinance, we'll put it into play. It'll be in force for 2 years, and we'll come back with the review in 2 years. I'll be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
No questions? Okay, we'll call for a motion on 10C.
I make a motion to approve 10C.
Anybody? We got a motion by Councilwoman Cunningham, second by Councilman Mahoney. Please vote on your screens. Motion carries 6-1.
Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Thank you very much, Mr. Foos. Okay, we're going to go to 11, executive session. The City Council will convene an executive session as authorized by the Texas Government Code, Section 551.071, consultation with attorney, 551.072, real property, and 551.074, personal matters, to deliberate and seek legal advice regarding the following. A, acquiring 203 South Main Street, the Noble Group Event Center, Cibolo, Texas 78108, Mr. Reed and George Hyde. B, city manager, city attorney's appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, dismissal, and/or hear a complaint or charge against the city manager / city attorney, Councilman Benson. The time is now 8:08. We will break into executive session.
that back together.
Hey, how you doing, Chief? Hey, how you doing, sir? Wonderful, wonderful. Hey, it's even, I think as, you know, for, a lot of events that we have over there, it's always a blessing to be able to share with you. So, especially last year, when I was here was on construction, we realized our facility. So, we saw this as an opportunity for us to have this, just that we're here, and it's great opportunity. We have, very interesting. Things, the way they think, probably more 45 years of things, and people not just putting it on top of that. So, you know, I'm just trying to see what it is. They could,
I'll be right back. I'm going to go put something out. I'll be right back. Good to see you, sir.
So the room that goes right next door to the Walmart is not mine. She lives next. And I think Dr. Lana Sorka What church is that? Cibolo, yeah, yeah. I know, I've never fellowship. It's right there. I've never. Yeah. I met his wife recently. She had two other ladies were eating at our restaurant. That was her first time. We're just thankful. A couple things I asked, the lease back, we've talked about new area, include, we're purchasing, we were purchasing, kind of on each street. It's furnished for FMC, whatever the contract. So we're still in the good school, like I kept, two buildings. And so, and I would like to come back to school for the discussion, go back. So, but this time we're going to do it, books. Business, I'm thinking about business, real estate, photos and complex. Something else. Yeah. Good for the city. It's furnished for FMC. When you drop the fence, it's furnished for FMC. And it's good work. It's good bad. It's a bigger lot. So, as we, to look at, something doing something wrong with it, priority, and then, over time, so it wasn't like it was like strategic. It was just, it's ever since I went to it, I retired. So I was thinking of you.
Doing well. Slight change in our life. We're watching the grandson. Mom took a job, and so she was able to stay at home for 5 years. Took a job, and so playing every day.
How old is he?
He's 6.
Six.
Just turned 6. So
Very good.
so the last year.
Oh, no. Especially boys. Little girl is probably, they can be captivated.
He pointed at you. He was like, get up and do what I should be doing.
It's a different kind of vacation. And so if you just go there and you stay there all day.
Yeah.
Okay, the time is now 10:14 p.m. We are resuming from executive session. Councilman Hicks, would you like to make the motion?
Get some spectacles on.
Trifocals?
Which is,
No, not trifocals yet.
B.
11A.
What the resolution he's making.
Okay.
I need to make that
gotcha.
resolution.
Okay, got it. 13B.
Resolution, approve or disapprove of a resolution of the City of Cibolo on the acquisition of 203 South Main Street. I make a motion to approve of a resolution of the City of Cibolo on the acquisition of 203 South Main Street, Noble Event Center, Cibolo, Texas.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Hicks, a second by, was that Councilman Roberts? Randy, was that you? Okay. Joel. Motion passes 6-1. All right, moving on to, we're going to go back to 10B. Approval, disapproval of an ordinance providing for the Second Amendment of the budget for the fiscal year 2023-2024. Ms. Miranda.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is the second budget amendment of the year. Each increase in the budget is identified by letter and footnoted on the page, and also included in the council memo in more detail, A through F. I'm going to go to Exhibit A, which is the details of the budget amendment. On page 1 of Exhibit A is the general fund. In January, the City Council approved an agreement with Hyde Kelly to provide legal services. While these services are provided at a flat fee, it requires an increase to the fiscal year 24 budget of approximately $200,000. On page 2 is Hotel Occupancy Tax Fund. This was unbudgeted in fiscal year 24. You can see the first column has a beginning fund balance and zero revenues and zero expenses. This amendment will add income and expense. An expense was approved by City Council in February by resolution to grant funds to support the Veterans Powwow, and the amount of $3,000, and revenue in this fund comes from short-term rentals in Cibolo. On page 3 is the Child Safety Fees Fund. Revenues are allocated and dispersed by Guadalupe County for this. It's the tax office gives a portion of their vehicle registrations. The child safety fee is distributed by population, so Cibolo receives a percentage of that. And over the years, as the population has grown, we've received a greater share of that. So our revenues, where we budgeted at $32,000, we actually are going to recognize $42,000 this year, and our interest earnings are up as well, with the interest rate holding steady. And so we've added $2,000 in interest. We've also added expense of $5,000 as we anticipate needing some additional funds for crossing guards than more over what we budgeted in the fiscal year to get that up to $25,000. 50% of our crossing guard staffing or personnel costs is funded from the Child Safety Fees Fund. On page 4 is the Public Facility Corporation. We are recognizing increased revenues from interest and our allocated share of revenue from Trophy Oaks. Increase in expenses related first to the purchase of a record management system for PD, and at an anticipated one-time cost of $225,000. I realize council tabled that this evening, but this would provide the funding for that if council moves forward with that. And second, for real estate acquisition, which council just approved by resolution. And then on page 5 is the Drainage Impact Fee Fund. The increase in expenses is attributable to professional services agreement approved by City Council in May of this year for engineering and right-of-way acquisition related to Tully Road. Are there any questions on any of these items? No? Let's see.
Just looking at the overall on E for the real estate acquisition, the amount that's in there.
So the total amount there, only 2 million is the cash for the transaction. The remaining money are for the other expenses that have been discussed with City Council.
Okay.
Any other questions by council? Do we hear a motion?
I make a motion to approve 10B.
Second? Anybody have a second? Okay, we got a motion by Councilwoman Cunningham, a second by Councilman Mahoney. Please vote. Motion carries 5-2.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Miranda. Moving on to 13A, approval, disapproval of a resolution of the City of Cibolo authorizing the city manager to enter into a multiple use agreement with the Texas Department of Transportation, TxDOT, to install the Flock Safety Automated License Plate Recognition cameras on TxDOT right-of-way within the City of Cibolo. Chief Andrus.
All right, good evening once again, Mayor and Council. Chief Andrus for the record. Back on April 23rd, the council approved a contract with Flock Safety to install automated license plate readers at various locations in the City of Cibolo. Tonight, we're coming back to you to approve the city manager to enter into a multi-use agreement with the Texas Department of Transportation to have these cameras installed on right-of-ways. Obviously, it's the first step in that process that we're asking for us so that we can start rolling the ball forward to have them on the right-of-ways. We're already will be moving forward within the city where we don't need this permission. So we recommend approval from council.
Do I hear a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Roberts, second by Councilman Hetzel. Please vote. Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. All right, on to item number 14, our most important item. Do I hear a motion?
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Roberts, second by Councilwoman Cunningham. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, we actually vote on this one, huh? Okay. I didn't know we did that.
Hey, we're paying for this system, we better use it. What's that? 7 minutes to spare. Okay. That's how I look at it. I could have had 7 more minutes. Just 7 more minutes. That's all I ask.
You had your 7 minutes.
Did I?